Welcome back, everybody. Today's video is going to be about one of the heroes I've been having the most fun playing in 7.34. I mentioned him in my patch notes review, and you heard it here first, people. Slardar. Let's go ahead and get into it. So let's give a brief refresher. What exactly did they do to Slardar that makes me say he's going to be a mid now? First and foremost, they made Slithering Crush a better spell in terms of it casts much faster. And then on top of that, the puddle duration, when you lay it, it effectively creates a river around you, is now 7 seconds at all levels, and this is a spell that we like to leave at 1 point because Sprint and Bash are just so essential. And then on top of that, you now see that Bash of the Deep. This is the game changer. Grants 10, 20, 30, 40 attack damage when in water. So first and foremost, you just get this pretty much the entire time you're laning when you are playing mid Slardar. On top of these are changes from previous patches. If you look, Guardian Sprint now gives you passive 18% movement speed for just being in the river. And it gives you bonus HP regen and bonus armor. So a lot of the issue that Slardar has as a hero is that in the mid lane, he usually relies on chase distance and ability to run you down with bashes. That's something he doesn't get in the mid lane because they're so close to tower. But now you get extra HP regen, extra damage, extra armor just for sitting in the river. And that's what I think has made him a good enough hero to be played in the mid lane. So I've played him 3 times. And I won twice, and this game I'm showing you guys is the potential of Slardar. And I just want to talk in this video about what exactly this hero offers in terms of the way you want to play the map and what you're looking for in terms of timings. And also some of the stuff that I've had happen in my other games that were a bit closer than this one to have you guys avoid the same problems I've run into, or at least be aware that you might encounter them. So when we look at skill build, I'm either going for my Slithering Crush or Bash of the Deep level 1. That really boils down to how scary the harass from the opponent is, because if they don't harass me all that much, like it's just a Wind Ranger in this case who's just going to click me a little bit, I'll take Bash because I can just prep the bashes and then use them to get last hits. Remember that Bash does double damage to creeps. So that 100 damage from the Bash plus auto in the river, we're hitting for 170 damage for a CS. And then at level 2, we'll take the other one, Slithering Crush. Even though it's only 75 damage, it's really fast animation, so you can usually like attack stun before the opponent can deny, which is really nice. And then after that, I take 2 points in Guardian Sprint. And the reason for that is that it's so important that you get that bonus HP regen. Slardar's always had sustain issues. And you can then pop your Sprint to run from rune to rune. So I usually level Sprint always at level 3. And that's because that timing is going to line up with the rune. So as you see, I get Sprint. And that's going to easily allow me to run from lane to rune very quickly. So we get bottled just like a normal mid because we do have sustain issues. You end up like really not using enough mana in lane. Like you do need the bottle because there's just no way to give yourself this much health. But like I'm like almost struggling to use mana because at the end of the day, even though Slithering Crush is 100, it's not a super high impact spell in the laning phase. And so I just don't find myself using it enough. But feel free to just spam it as much as you can because this hero will have more health issues than he will have mana issues. But what it feels like is as long as the opponent can't bully you out of lane, like they can't actually shove you out of lane with auto attacks or harass, you just get every CS. Like if I look at the last hits and denies, like yeah, I'm not going to get all that many denies because they're busy harassing me a lot. Slardar would be insanely good against melee heroes, but I haven't even gotten the chance to play against a melee hero yet. I've only played against ranged right-clickers that harass the shit out of you, Wind Ranger, Necrophos, Clinks, and I've done okay in all 3 of these lanes. So what ends up happening is because you're so fast, you can just look for opportunities to just go pick up runes. So notice how I'm just going to go push the wave as fast as I can, and now I'm just going to go pick up bounty runes because I'm so fast. In this case, we happen to get 2 bounty runes. And I'll make it back to lane, not even missing 1 creep worth of experience. So you can play a lot like Primal Beast in the mid lane, where you can choose to just roam between bounty runes and lanes very quickly. And that's the power of being in the mid lane. And this game specifically, this was my first game playing Slardar. I took the 2nd point in Bash, and I actually regretted that because I wanted to have the extra HP regen and armor from the Sprint. So my refined build, in terms of skill, after playing him 3 games, would be Bash and Slithering Crush level 1 and 2, 2 points in Sprint, and then max Bash. If you don't max the Bash from there, you actually lack damage. So the reason why the Bash damage is so important on Slardar specifically, like that 40 extra damage, obviously 40 damage on any hero is pretty nice, but it's because this hero likes to build attack speed, and his ultimate gives minus 10 armor. So suddenly this 40 damage is turned into a lot more than 40 damage. So it's also important to note at this moment that when you get your ultimate, it leaves a river behind the person that you're chasing. So we're gonna see that come into play in just a second, but that means that if I ult somebody and chase after them, I get 40 bonus damage and 18% passive movement speed and armor and health regen. These are all things that like a year ago Slardar just didn't have. So it's pretty insane if you think about Slardar as a hero, how much he's been buffed, really. The only concern I have for him is the sustain issues in the laning phase itself. You're seeing I'm getting right-clicked a lot by Windranger. That's why in the future games I took a second point in sprint. And I just feel like this is the one stage where maybe flying out a salve would be enough, because I am getting pretty much free farm in these lanes. Like, I just have so much damage in the river that I have no issues getting all the CS. So in this case, this is what I'm showcasing. Look how fast I go from mid to top lane, right? It's 438 when I leave mid lane. 11 seconds later, we're just in the top lane now, right? We're gonna botch this gank a little bit because I got confused. I thought he was dead, but he snowballed. But he ends up dying, and I end up having to TP back to mid because we chased a bit longer. But honestly, if that gank went smoother, I could have just been back to mid without TPing. So a lot of this hero, you don't really want to interact with the enemy mid laner that much. Because remember, the chase distance aspect of Slardar is really important. Meaning, like, if I can't dive extended distances, this hero just feels kind of bad. So most of what I'm doing is not in the mid lane, unless I'm getting ganked for, or the engagement's happening on the rune, because that's in the river. So notice how, like, anytime the lane's just right here, and the enemy mid, especially a ranged hero, is just there, I just ignore their existence, you know? I just say, okay, see you later, like, not much to do here. And then I'm just gonna run to the other side of the map. And back to mid lane in time for the rune. Sadly, the rune was top. But we didn't even miss a single creep. And that's what this hero's, like, Primal Beast-esque playstyle is, right? You can just run back and forth so fast. And so the build that I like now, in the past you had to debate between, like, Mask of Madness or rushing a Blink or something. But now, since you have all this HP regen from the river, and you're also going mid with a bottle, that you can just rush a mana regen item. In this case, the best mana regen item for a hero that right-clicks is Echo Saber. So that's what I've elected to go every single game. And notice how I'm just right back bottom, forcing reactions. Notice how I'm getting that extra 30 damage, extra movement speed. I'm not even sprinted, and I'm 440. So notice the items. I went Treads, and I also went Windlace. As a strength hero, Slardar is one of the few that doesn't mind having Agi Treads on when he's chasing. First and foremost, because we have bonus damage, but also because you want to proc your bash as often as possible. And then you can just chase people relentlessly. Like, this hero's a freaking menace, man, I swear. Like, this game is definitely as good as it gets, but even in the games where it's a bit tougher, the one thing I had to learn is if the opponent has a lot of control, like this game you notice the Beastmaster without 6, the Clinks, they don't have very many stuns. So the less stuns they have, the more I can just run around being rampant and just killing everybody, right? But like in later games I played against like a Willow, a Shadow Shaman, you know, things with a lot of control. And if that's the case, you need to always have allies around you in order to be making these plays, and as long as you're not perma-disabled, you'll just kill everybody. So the one thing I've really had to learn is around this stage in the game is considering to slow down. If you feel like it's hard to run into the opponent, feel free to jungle like I'm doing now. You can stun on top of the creep camp with your Slithering Crush, and you'll get the 40 damage, the bonus HP regen, and bonus armor for 7 seconds. That puddle buff is huge, level 1. So you also can just use your amp on big creeps. You jungle decently fast, all things considered. And also, off-map, you're pretty scary to the opponent. So I always try to get back to mid to get the rune. In this particular case, I wanted to abuse the regen rune and didn't manage to get away. But I can just be anywhere and everywhere on the map. There is no such thing as running away from Slardar, my friends. There is just no such thing. No such thing. So when you get the harpoon timing, it feels so nice because of how well it synergizes with Slithering Crush. So what you're going to see is the use here. And even though we didn't manage to quite burst him, you can see exactly why this feels so good. So if I'm having a good or even remotely decent game, I just rush harpoon. because it's basically a blink dagger, but early game you'd rather just have more damage, more stats. Overall, it's like less hard commitment than a blink dagger, and it's about the same cost when you upgrade from a Echo Saber to a Harpoon as it is to go Echo Saber Blink. So as long as people don't have blink yet on their team, and they're not able to like get away from your Harpoon, then it feels like the better option. So the main thing I want to say about Slardar is that the Axe feels nice, BKB feels nice, and I like to skip the blink if I can. So I only go blink if they have super squishy guys in the back that just have to die. Something like a Silencer, an Ancient Apparition, heroes like this. But if I can just run people down, then I would rather go for the Harpoon. So the things to note about Slardar is that in the mid to late game, when you look at his level 20 talent, the Slithering Crush damage, I like to take that one. And if you get the shard, your second spell, your stun, now one-shots creep waves. So one thing about this hero is he's similar to Axe in the sense that he doesn't want to show on map. He wants to always be a threat. He wants the opponent to be terrified at all times, right? So this whole idea of like showing on creep waves very briefly, if at all, you'll want your team to be pushing creep waves for you. So consider not picking Slardar if your teammates have no wave clear potential. But like Troll buys Battle Fury, Centaur likes to farm creep waves as well. So these are all things where you just want your teammates to enable you to run at people. You've got like the playstyle of like Axe Ricky, you know, like a little bit of a hybrid of like Axe Ricky. Off map all the time, hunting people, high physical damage from Ricky, but more of an initiator like Axe. I'm really excited about this build. I'm going to be continuing to refine it nonstop. But what I'm really coming to the conclusion of is in an ideal world, I would go Harpoon into BKB. I'm realizing that some games, I get that Echo Saber and the opponent just groups up with stuns. And I can't really do much. And I'm considering in those games that you should go Midas. Because if you go Echo Saber Midas into like BKB and they're grouped up, you're going to hit this timing where you don't have to fight them because you have a Midas. But if they do decide to fight, you have a BKB and you can just run in. This is more of the mid play style of Slardar. I don't think he's like this low cooldown blink initiator utility guy. He's actually looking to chunk people. And that extra 40 damage just makes this entire window of the game so much scarier. And I've noticed that the first 15 minutes, it feels so powerful on Slardar. And this was a lot of his issue. The only reason I think he wasn't really a mid before is because his laning stage was just really awkward. And his mid game, he just lacked damage. And both these problems are solved now. So hope you guys enjoyed. Try out mid Slardar and let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time.